welcome back to another video. So today we're back here for another speed build, and this one is a modern lake mansion. So if you'd like to go ahead and download it for yourself, it is up on the gallery now. My origin ID is RealThomasTV1. So like I said, this is called a modern lake mansion. It's basically a 64 by 64 lot where I built basically just a huge pool and put a mansion in the middle of it, in simple terms. I did have another slightly different idea for this build, so I did have another title which I'm not going to tell you in case I do decide to do this in another video, but the one I decided on here is kind of like this lake mansion, and it's a modern theme. So and this build is probably one of my favourite builds and mansions that I've done in quite a long time. It just turned out so well, and just even actually better than I thought it would, and the interior I just absolutely love. It's so stylish and modern, so I'll get onto that shortly. And I think this build took me about 3 hours to do, which, as you know, I don't really spend that much time on a build, so it was nice to just kind of take my time and really focus on it. It did make the editing a pain because, as you know, I don't really like videos to go over 15 minutes long, so the video came out to be like 25 minutes, so I had to be very sort of selective with my editing to get this into, you know, a 15 minutes. It's a little bit more than 15 minutes, but I think that's alright. It's like 16 minutes and then a couple of minutes for the screenshots, and yeah, so, you know, I could have done 2 parts, but it would be like a sort of like a longer video and then a very short one to finish it off, so I thought I'll just try and edit as best as I can. So in terms of the details about this build, like I said, it's built on a 64 by 64 lot, and this one is on the island of Windenburg, and it has 9 bedrooms and 9 bathrooms, which is a lot. As you know, sometimes, well, I do mansions all the time, but I never really do that many bedrooms and bathrooms. I have in the past, but not really anymore. So yeah, that is a lot of bedrooms and bathrooms, and it came in at 568,523 simoleons, which again, my mansions don't normally come to that price either, and that's just because of the pool. As you know, or you may not know actually, in The Sims 4 pools are very, very expensive. Whilst I was building this, I did just delete the pool, and then I undid it just to see how much it would cost, and the pool itself cost over 150,000 simoleons, which I was not expecting at all. You can make a very nice family home out of that much money. I was thinking it was going to be, you know, less than half of that amount, so that kind of shocked me a bit. So if this house is very expensive and you really like the house, but you're not really too bothered about like the whole sort of aesthetic of it, because that's really what the pool is for, then you could easily just take out the pool, because like I said, I did try that and the house didn't really change at all. It just didn't have a pool there pretty much. So if you want to kind of have this house at a much lower price and you don't need the huge big pool, then feel free to remove that or make it smaller for your own gameplay. So yeah, like I said, that's how much it was, and I did use a lot of packs today, like a lot of packs. So as you know, most of my builds I try to restrict them as much as I can, removing unnecessary items. So if I use, you know, one item from one pack, I'll just remove it, and, you know, do things, you know, like that throughout all my builds, just to try and make the pack list much smaller. But you know, doing that sometimes can be a little bit frustrating, having to do it all the time for my builds, even though I like doing it to help you with downloading. So once in a while I do like to not really restrict myself at all and just do what I want and not focus on what packs I'm using and what items are from which pack. So in total, this build has all of the expansions in it, and then for the game packs it has Jungle Adventure, Parenthood, Dine Out, Spa Day and Outdoor Retreat, and then for the stuff packs it has Moschino stuff, Fitness stuff, I couldn't think there what it was called, Bowler Night stuff, Cool Kitchen stuff, and Perfect Patio stuff. Now, you know, from all those packs, it's not like I'm using like a crazy amount of items from each pack. Actually, from Outdoor Retreat, all I used was a tree. So, you know, if you don't have Outdoor Retreat, then that's totally fine. But I really wanted to use a tree that was from that pack. So, you know, if you have a look through in the gallery, because as I always say, when you see the pack icons on a build, like on a page of a build, if you click on it, there's then another button on the window that pops up and it says show used items. If you click on that, it shows you a list of all the items from that pack used in the build. So for example, if you see Outdoor Retreat and there's only one item used and it's like just like a decoration item or something, then you can still download the build, because really it's not going to make any difference at all. So it's probably worth having a look through the items on the packs that you don't have, just to be sure. And if it's not a lot, then you know you can still download it without having to make so many changes. So as you can see, we're now on the interior. I did have to cut out quite a bit of the exterior, but a lot of it was repetitive. Actually, for a change, I did record me doing all the floor tiles and wall coverings. As you know, I don't normally include that in the footage because it is, you know, pretty boring and repetitive, and you see the wall coverings and stuff anyway when you decorate that room, so I don't normally record it, but I thought today I would, but it turns out I couldn't really fit it in the build anyway, so I just had to cut it out. So we've worked on the living room already, I think. I really love the living room. As you saw there, I did do like little shelving units on the side of the fireplace, and I did use a glass sliding door as well, going into the living room from the hallway, which I never use really. Those sliding doors, like, I cannot really remember one time I've used them, probably a few times in Island Living builds, but apart from that I haven't really used them that much, so it's nice to use them for a change. I wish I had a few more of them though, because that one that I chose, although it was okay, I was kind of wanted something a little bit more modern looking. Even though the glass is kind of modern, it wasn't as modern as I was hoping for. And we also got a gym here. As you know, in my normal build I would put a gym inside the garage, but we don't have a garage here on an island and, you know, in the middle of a lake, so I just went ahead and built a room here for it. And I really love the wall coverings and stuff I used today. As you can see in the hallway, where I did use like a stone tile from Jungle Adventure, I think it is, which isn't really like me to use. I wouldn't really use that sort of thing inside of a home interior, but I just thought it would be a nice change, and it kind of goes well with the theme. It's just a little bit different to look at as well. As you'll also notice throughout this build, I am using quite a bit of wall art from the gallery and pictures that people have uploaded to the gallery. So as you can see there in the front of the build, I've got a couple of walls down, which are just rooms from the gallery of people uploaded. So I've explained this in a few of my last videos that I've done this, but basically what it is that people take, they probably use CC, I'd imagine, and kind of put it in game and get the sim to paint from reference of that, and then once the Sims painted it and made a canvas out of it, they put it on a wall and then upload it to the gallery. But because the sim has painted from reference, it doesn't actually class as CC on the gallery, if you know what I mean. So you're basically getting loads of free extra paintings and wall pictures for your game to use, which is free and it isn't CC either, so it's a really great thing to use. And for me as well, I've noticed a few people have mentioned this, and also myself, is that I always tend to use the same paintings because I just kind of struggle to find new ones that kind of work well with my building style. So I always end up having like a few ones that I always use, which, you know, can get a little bit boring. So it is a nice way for me to switch things up as well in terms of how I do builds using them. So as you saw there, I did just place a few walls at the front of the build, and I kind of just went back and forwards between them when I wanted to use one. I think I did use 3 different people's ones today, and one of them is MandyK77, which I've used before. But if you want to see the other creators' names of who I used from this, then go to my gallery, and on the description of this build there is their hashtags to go to their pages, so you can see all their other creations and download some for yourself as well. So this room right here, I really love that bedroom that we just worked on. So this is kind of like on the diagonal side of the home, as you can see, and it's basically kind of like a guest house quarters, I'd imagine. So it doesn't really have any specific personality to it, but I just think that it would be a nice guest house because it has their own patio area, as you can see as well. It has some nice glass roofs, which I think just makes it look nicer as well, and it has its own bathroom and kind of just its own hallway area as well. It's just kind of totally separate. So I thought that would make a really nice guest house, so you could use that. I suppose it's not a guest house, but you know what I mean. If you have somebody staying over, then they could use that. And as you can see, we are also building a basement. I wasn't originally going to do this, but then I saw kind of like that plain wall down there underneath the water where the foundation wall is, if you know what I mean, and it just looked pretty blank, and I thought putting windows there and making a basement would look really nice, so you can kind of see it from outside as well, and I suppose it's pretty interesting for being under there as well, underwater. So I went ahead and made a basement. So in the basement, there is actually 2 bowling alleys. There is another living room section and the bar area, another sitting area with the bowling alleys. There's also another bedroom, 2 more bathrooms down there, and also another study, so lots of extra space down there. I was going to actually put more stuff down there, but then I realised that I had 9 bedrooms and 9 bathrooms already. Although you could do more than 9 bedrooms and 9 bathrooms in a build, and I have done that before. It's just on the gallery, when you select the amount of bedrooms and bathrooms, the maximum you can go to is 9, so I feel like there's no point of me putting extras in, because to be honest, you can only have 8 Sims in a household anyway, so you might as well not bother with it. So I didn't do that, but if for whatever reason you want more bedrooms or any other room really, then there's definitely enough space in the basement to do that. There's so much extra space there that you can use. Remember that most of the space in this build is just took up by the pool. The house itself isn't like ginormous, even though it's got 9 bedrooms and 9 bathrooms in it. There's still a lot more room to expand on it, and I always say basements, I feel like, are a great way to do that, because you don't have to focus on what it looks like from the exterior. You know, you don't have to worry about the floor plan. You just place rooms where it can fit, and it still looks fine. So you know, you can do that if you need to. So this bedroom right here, this one, I didn't really edit as much this bedroom because I just wanted you to see it in its full glory really, because I just absolutely love that bedroom. So there's nothing like, you know, totally special about it. It's just the fact that it's like a little bit different, because as you've probably heard me say, but I always kind of struggle with bedrooms when it comes to switching them up to make them look different. You know, you have like the bed and the 2 bedside tables with a lamp on, which is fine, but you know, when you do so many builds and so many bedrooms and builds as well, you feel like you're just doing the same thing over and over again. So it's really great when I find new ways to switch up bedroom arrangements, I suppose is the right word. So sometimes I put those marble console tables behind beds instead of bedside tables, and I do some other things as well. So that was just another way that I switched it up. And I had nice painting from one of the gallery uploads as well, and I put in the centre, and I had like the shelving units like I did on the TV in the living room downstairs as well. So I was just really loved how that room turned out, so I thought I'd show that off without cutting anything out. So this room right here is probably a teens room. Now, I forgot to mention this, but I wasn't originally going to do any personalised rooms today, because as you know, I don't really like to do that pretty much anyway. I like to keep bedrooms and stuff neutral. I'm not going to go into it too much because I know you've all heard it before. But also as well, you know, with modern builds, I find that doing kids rooms and very personalised rooms don't always fit in that well. So that's why I don't really do them in modern builds either. But then I was thinking, Thomas, you've been ridiculous. You haven't done a personalised bedroom in a while. So I thought I'd go ahead and do one today. So I've actually done a couple. So there's that one there, which we're just working on, which I said would be a teens room. Again, it is fairly neutral still, but I would imagine that would be a nice teens room, I would say. And there's also a very colourful kids room as well, which again, I did keep neutral. I wouldn't say it's for, like I didn't have in mind for a boy or a girl or anything like that. It just has a lot of kids' toys in it, and it had a bit more colour in that room as well. So I don't know if I've worked on that room already, but it's kind of in the centre of the upstairs. No, we're about to work on it now, actually. So this is it here. So as you will see, it is fairly neutral, but you know, you would say it would be a kid's room. And then the other rooms, I would say, are just fairly neutral. I didn't really do any more personalised rooms, I don't think. There is that, you know, guest quarters thing downstairs as well on the diagonal room. There is actually a room upstairs here which just has a single bed in it. And I don't know why, but I always associate when I do neutral bedrooms with a single bed in it as a guest room for some reason. So you could use that for that room. I don't think I showed it on camera though, that room, because as I said, it is fairly neutral. You've seen that sort of bedroom design before that I've done. And because I was so pushed for time in the speed build, I just thought I would go ahead and rule out that bedroom for the video, just because it's not that interesting to look at, but you know, it is in the screenshots. And also as well, in the screenshots, I do have top-down views of all the floors of the home. I know some people find that useful. Now that, well, I'm pretty sure it was because people like to, you know, build things on console that way by showing those screenshots. But now that we have the online gallery on console, I don't know if it's very useful or not, but I was in build mode and I was about to take them, and I was thinking, well, is it really useful anymore? And I was like, you know what, I might as well just take them. So they're there if you want to use them. And I don't know why you would want to recreate this home by actually building it yourself. I think that'd be pretty challenging and hard to get exactly right, but you know, you can just go ahead and download it if you want to. And yeah, so this room right here, I would probably say is the master room. I did have another room in mind for the master room. It's the one where the glass roof is, kind of looking down at the dining room. But then I saw this room here, and it has this kind of balcony area off it, and it actually has another smaller balcony area facing the back of the build. So I was like, you know what, this definitely has to be the master room. It's too fancy for it not to be. So I did that there. And now we're just working on the last part of the build in terms of the interior, because we've got to finish off the landscaping and things, and we're working on the basement here. So I kind of just made this one huge big entertainment room. So there is the 2 bowling alleys, and there's also the living room section in here as well, and also the bar. I was kind of thinking maybe for noise in the bowling alley and watching TV may not work that well, but you know, it is The Sims, and Sims don't really notice that, so I didn't really think it was too much of a problem. So it's all one big entertainment space instead. As you can see, I did put the TV on this kind of divider wall behind it, which I know looks a little bit weird. I don't know how it's attached to it, but you know, I just thought it looked a little bit interesting and modern, so I did that there. You can also see that I've used a lot of Moschino stuff today. I don't use that very often in my builds, but when I'm doing very stylish interiors or a lot of modern builds, actually I find it fits really nicely, so I did that there. And then we're just working on this room here, which I think is the last room before we then head on to the exterior again. As you know, I do try, well, in the past, I used to be all over my speed builds. I'll be like doing a bit of the exterior, then I start doing the interior, and then come back to do a little bit of the landscape, and then go back in the interior. It was all over the place, and the reason I did that was to keep it more interesting in the speed build. And people, used to tell me that they liked it that way to keep it more interesting. But kind of as time's gone on, I've realised that may be a little bit confusing, especially with these bigger builds when there's so much going on, the camera's jumping all over. So these days I do try to keep the speed builds a little bit more ordered, so it's a bit easier to watch and kind of think about what's going on. So I was going to do the landscaping first, but for whatever reason I decided to do the whole interior, then come back to the exterior last. So that's what we're doing here. So I did change the pool shape quite a few times. At the beginning it was very small, as I just put it in to kind of just think of how it would look, and then I made the rest of the pool later on here. And I didn't really know how I was going to do the landscaping, because I was thinking that a huge big pool area like that, it would look pretty boring and plain, having all that pool area with nothing in it. And I was thinking, do I put plants in the pool? And then I was thinking, well, actually in Island Living in Solani, there is a lot of kind of plants and things under the water in particular areas, and I have done that before, my own builds in Solani. So I was going to do that, and then I kind of just used some of the debug rocks instead, kind of placed those around, and then I did some landscaping around the exterior perimeter of the build, I suppose, as well, around the pool. And most importantly though was the trees. I kind of just wanted to feel a little bit more enclosed, so that's kind of the main thing I did in terms of landscaping. We've also got these balcony areas to do and the rest of the patio areas, which is fairly simple, not too much going on with this one. But I think that is pretty much it. So I really hope you enjoyed. In the comment section down below, let me know about what you thought of it. If you have any more suggestions for other builds or anything else that you want to see on the channel next, that'd be really helpful to hear. Leave a like, share and subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!